Hey, Brad Lancaster here, and I want to show you part 3 of the 4-part series of the Blissfully Simple Homestead. In this one, you see how David and Pearl solar cook a lot of their food for free with a homemade solar oven. They also preserve a lot of their food for free using solar drying, again, just using the sun. And they preserve food in another way using a powerless refrigerator that just uses the night sky to provide the cooling. And they have a very simple solar power system, one-time payment, $600, provides all their electricity needs. Furthermore, I'm going to show you this incredible wild foods event where folks will harvest the native mesquite pods and then they'll use the community mill to grind it up into a naturally sweet, delicious, nutritious, edible flour. And then there's this feast of mesquite pancakes with prickly pear syrup. So even people that have never tried any of these wild foods before, they can try this and they can see how great it is. It's a gateway food into more deliciousness and other wild foods, all irrigated for free, nothing more than the rain. Check it out. What if you want to cook some of these greens, like your kale? How do you cook here?
Well, one of the things that we use most frequently is right here, and that is the solar oven, or solar cooker, if you want to call it that more. And this is one that David designed and implemented. And you can see some of the features of it. First of all, it's all metal, so that there's no, or almost all metal, so there's no maintenance. We have it close to the house. We have little trays on either side. So when you come out with something to bake or whatever, you have a place to put it. It's convenient.
And this is always outside?
This is always outside. It's always right here. It's nice. Mounted, heavily mounted, shall we say. Nice. And then it's super convenient to use as far as focusing. And you might want to look here at what we think about in terms of focusing. To me, focusing is when there aren't any shadows, as little shadow as possible on all sides.
Can you give me a more obvious shadow on that side?
So I'm going to give a shadow here. If I turn this, there you can see the shadow. And we want to eliminate that if possible. So you can see how easy this is to do that. And then in the other dimension.
And sorry, I'm just going to get a shot showing how this is pointed. There's the sun right there. Pointed straight at it.
Okay, and then in the other dimension, up and down, of course, the sun is also moving. So we have the whole oven pivots around these bars, and that holds the shelf absolutely stable and in the same position all the time, and the whole oven pivots around that shelf. So you can see how I can lower it. And you can see the shadow up at the top now.
Yeah, so you can lower it for the winter months when the sun's lower in the sky.
And then right now this is the closest notch to where there's virtually no shadow on any side.
And then in the summer months, you would be angling that up even more?
In the summer, you can angle it all the way. And it would be at least that high during much of the summer months. So I'm going to lower it again.
So it seems like this is like a great little tool or daily practice to get you in sync with the seasonally changing path of the sun and the angle off the horizon and what time of day it is.
It definitely is. I mean, for example, during the summertime, you have a lot more hours to cook. Right now, we're at solstice, so it's winter solstice, so it's the shortest days of the year, so have to be really conscious of getting things out. I'm more likely, for example, to soak the beans overnight. Most of the time, I don't even bother to soak beans. I put them in the solar oven, and with actually not checking on the orientation too often, easily cook a pot of beans. But right now I'm much more conscious of making sure that I'm focusing frequently and getting things started early in the day.
Yeah. take advantage of the less winter sun during the day.
That's right. Yep. You can see I have some sweet potatoes and a pot of beans. You can actually see them bubbling through the Visions cookware.
Nice. And
Often
so we're a little over almost 250, 275 degrees Fahrenheit
right
now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is plenty good enough to do this kind of cooking. I also I don't do yeasted breads, but I certainly can do quick breads, bars.
It kind of strikes me. Is it somewhat like a solar crock pot?
It's very much that way. Yeah.
Slow cooking.
I do more slow cooking, but I also bake. But like I say, yeasted things, you usually need you need a little bit hotter oven than that. So, but this works great for most other things. So,
how do you get the food out of there? In and out.
That's around the back here. This lifts out, and you can get a...
Woo! Look at those beans bubbling. Oh, we got the steam in here too.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that looks
you
like...
can't smell on the video, but you can. But I can smell both of them actually.
And how thick's the insulation you've got there? That's your door.
That's right. So it's what, 3.5 inch?
Yeah.
Insulation.
And I'll clarify that we were talking about oven angle at different times of the year. Actually, even in summer, it starts out like the sun will be coming up over here, say.
To the northeast, yeah.
In the northeast. So the oven will be pointed toward it, but fairly low.
Yeah.
And then as the day goes on, it goes higher and higher. We adjust it higher and higher, and then lower and lower again later
Right.
on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's not just seasonal. It's during the whole daily cycle.
So you're doing a daily sun dance when you're cooking with the sun. That's pretty sweet. I mean, that gets the mind and muscle knowledge as one.
Right. And we're paying close attention to the weather. You know, if it's going to be a cloudy day, we're not going to cook with this that day. Yeah. We're more inclined to use one of our other cooking methods.
Awesome. I love it. So, yeah, it seems like you're getting like free heat, free cooking, because there's no energy input that's hooked up to any utility. So you're just using the free power of the sun right there.
Our thermonuclear oven.
Nice. Love that. And no wires, nothing like that.
No.
But what if you wanna cook at night?
So we also have a basically a camp stove that we can use at night. So that's here. But if it's during the day and the sun is shining, we can also use something that's relatively new to us, which is this induction cooktop burner. And so this hooks into our solar system, which is not large enough to use it after dark. Well, I should say the battery system is not large enough to use it after dark, but during the day we can use that.
So if the sun is feeding electricity through your solar panels, you use the induction hot plate.
Yes.
But if the sun's down, no sun, no energy, no electricity being produced through your solar panels,
then we
can use the camp stove.
And yes, we are conscious of making sure that we have oxygen in the I like to have this window open a little bit when I'm using this.
Because that's a propane
stove. Because this is a propane stove, yes.
Nice.
So.
Can we check out the solar panels that are
Sure.
powering this?
David is going to be better at showing you that system.
But I'm curious, so you mentioned that with that induction oven, I'm sorry, not induction oven, the induction hot plate.
Yeah.
While it's not getting its heat directly from the sun, it's getting it indirectly from the solar panels.
Right.
Do you do any kind of sun dance with that like you do with the solar oven?
Well, yes. I would not use the induction burner early in the morning or in the evening. only during the day when we're actually getting current through the solar panels.
Yeah, there's more sun hitting the panels and getting you more electricity.
Right. Yeah.
So that's cool. With both, you've got a Sundance.
That's
going on.
right. That's correct.
Nice. And David, can you show us where the panels are and
Sure.
that are generating that electricity? So where are the rest of the panels?
This is it.
That's it.
It's 4 panels that we got from you, Brad, many, many, many years ago.
Oh, those are our old panels.
And they've been serving us very well ever since.
Nice. So that's amazing. And what's the wattage on each one of these?
They're each 120 watts.
120 watts
Yeah.
a piece. So this is just a fraction of the number of panels you would typically see on a typical U.S. home. And it's even smaller than it looks because these are the old panels that we put on my brother and I put on our house 20 years ago before we upgraded to new panels. So they're not even producing as much power as your typical panel.
Right.
But nonetheless, these 4 are enough to meet your needs because you're not hooked up to the grid, right?
We are not. No.
This is your sole source of electricity.
That's it.
Awesome.
We have more power than we know what to do with. We consume right at 3% of the national residential average of electrical consumption. And with that 3%, we charge 2 computers, laptop computers, 2 cell phones, lights at night, a printer occasionally. What else, Pearl? That's mostly it.
And the induction hot plate.
Induction
And the
hot
induction
plate
hot plate,
during
yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
And once in a while, you'll get a tool out or something and use current during the day. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it sounds like you all have a practice where you're trying to use things that need electricity, ideally during the daylight hours when you've got current going from the sun going directly into the panels and directly to whatever the use is. But when you're using electrical devices at night, where are you getting that electricity from?
So we have one battery. It's a 100 amp hour battery that allows us to use lights, computers, cell phones, our Wi-Fi modem at all hours.
Here?
Yeah, it's under here. It's inside an insulated box there.
So it looks like you've got it on the cool north side of the house.
Yes.
You've got it protected under the refrigerator we'll look at in a moment.
Yes.
And you've got it insulated. So you've got it in a really nice sheltered microclimate.
Yes, exactly.
So just one battery
Yep.
is sufficient.
And we only draw that battery down about 20 to 30% each night. So we have 70% of it in reserve at all times.
Nice. Nice. You guys always got abundance. You've always got abundance thanks to your thrifty way of living. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great way to get rich by just not spending.
We feel very rich. We really do.
We absolutely do.
Well, I'd agree with that. And I always feel enriched when I come visit you guys.
Well, we feel the same when you come out.
Exactly.
Nice. I'm glad it can be reciprocal.
It is. It most definitely is.
So it strikes me that there's this awesome parallel going on between your water and your energy use, or maybe a better term, cycling. You've really minimized your water consumption to make water go a lot further, what little water you do use. And as a result, you don't need anywhere near the infrastructure or the costs that a typical household would need. You don't have plumbing in the house. It's all outside based around that faucet. And then with your solar power, it strikes me that you've got a lot of strategies that really reduce your need for electricity in the first place.
Yes.
And maybe since we're right here, can you show me your refrigerator, your non-electric refrigerator?
So this is our method of cooling food. We have several gallons of water here that serve as a cold sink. And so we open this lid during the night, during the season when it gets cold enough to really chill things down in here, and then just close it in the morning, and things really actually do stay amazingly cold.
And you were saying earlier, is it the threshold, like when the nights get into the 40s, 40 degree Fahrenheit, or 50, what's the threshold of it's cool enough?
I would say in the, like from 40 to 45, if it gets that low at night, then we can use this method of just opening the ice chest at night and closing it during the day.
And it doesn't have to be 40, 45 degrees all night, just at some point in the night.
Right.
And here in our dry climate, we typically don't have much cloud cover, so we don't have that insulating blanket. So a lot of the heat is released at night to the atmosphere.
Exactly.
And that's why you open it at night.
That's right. Exactly.
Awesome.
So.
And so there's no ice or anything in there. It's just the water that gets cooled at night and the food stuff to get cooled at night. And then during the day you close it again, or?
Right. We close it in the morning to hold the cold in. Okay.
And you've got the insulation of just a typical ice chest.
We do, but we have shade and reflective material on the top and on the sides. So it's actually, and it's on the north side of the house.
Yeah.
So we actually try to keep it as out of the sun as much as possible and keep it colder.
That's great, and it's great that you've got an airspace between your shade strategy and and the cooler.
Yeah.
So that's so great, because very often the refrigerator is a huge energy sink for people. But I love this, and I also love it for people, like let's say power goes out and you're not screwed. You probably have an ice chest on site. You can probably throw one of these together and make it work while the power's out, if it's the right season.
And if it's not the right season, I mean, shoulder seasons are, we go to Oregon during the height of the summer, but on the shoulder seasons, you can get by if you, for example, if you don't have a lot of extra stuff in the ice chest so for example, I wouldn't cook as many beans during that season and hold them for days on end. I would cook maybe enough for 1 or 2 days. And so you can adjust your expectations a little bit too. And if you have a garden, you don't need to be, you can just harvest from the garden rather than expecting that you're going to have a week's worth of vegetables in your refrigerator, for example. So it's also a matter of awareness and adjusting behavior a little bit as well.
Nice.
So
it reminds me, some Dene friends up in the Four Corners area, they love to refer to their four-legged refrigerators, and which is the sheep. And so it's like, as long as they're out walking and whatnot, no refrigeration's needed. And so then you just process an animal as needed, and there you go.
Yeah, and if you do have access to dairy animals, it's also a similar situation where you can, most of us like to have at least cool milk, but some people like it straight, but if you have a daily milking situation, you can also do with a lot less refrigeration than most people think they would need.
Nice. And it seems, so behind you are some of your pantry, right?
That's right.
So can you also give us a little information like on how you can food and store food as another means of lessening your need or dependence on refrigeration?
Well, we actually do more drying than canning at this point, and that's the drying rack out there.
Can we look at that?
Sure. But
okay. So what, this is your drying rack, food drying rack here?
That's
It's
right.
a solar drying rack, yeah, and it's just made up of some trays that we made up of 1/2-inch hardware cloth. And we covered it on top here with this irrigation tubing that we split and put over it and wired in place, so that when you cut the hardware cloth around the perimeter, it's kind of spiky, and so this keeps us from hanging up our fingers or clothes.
Does it also make it easier when it's really hot to pick it up, or it's not serving that?
Not so much.
Not really.
Right. And then we have a screen that goes over the whole thing and is held by clamps around the perimeter.
But we also have pieces of screen that fit into these each tray, and then on top of that is
Right.
a
So the
screen
piece of
for the whole
screen
thing.
goes on, the food goes on, and then screen goes over the whole thing to keep insects off.
So it looks like you're got a lot going on here in that you've got a lot of good ventilation because you've
Yes.
got your screen, you've got the corrugations of the metal.
Correct.
And then the metal can also be reflecting some of the sun's heat as well.
Exactly.
Do you have, so you've got it up off the ground.
Yes.
Do you have any issues with animals coming and trying to eat what you're drying?
Primarily it would be javelina. They would love to get into this if they could, but they can't.
It's too high.
They can't get up this high. Right.
And we haven't had, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but if we had raccoons come around, obviously they would want, and probably ringtails. But we have not had that problem.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing is that food dries so quickly here that, if we're around here, we keep an eye on it. It just happens, no matter what food it is, within a day or two, it's all done.
Well, yeah, because again, we have not gone far from the house at all.
That's right.
no, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see it right from both
Exactly.
the kitchen and the bedroom window.
Right.
That's right.
And we'll see you inside the house shortly, everybody.
Okay?
Awesome. So again, you're drying food. You've got your non-electric refrigerator, and though it sounds like not as much, but you do some canning still, or is it mostly canning up in Oregon nowadays?
Mostly up in Oregon.
That would be
when we're
more
up
in
there.
Oregon during the summer. We have a huge garden up there too, so yeah, that's here. Wintertime garden is mostly greens, etc., that you wouldn't be so likely to can.
Yeah.
So, but I sometimes bring canned tomatoes down from Oregon, that sort of thing.
Nice, because you've got your summer big fleshy produce being produced up there in
That's
Oregon,
right.
There in the
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Nice. So what brought me to David and Pearl originally was food, specifically wild native foods, such as the pods from our native mesquite tree. So here's the Girl Scouts planting a native velvet mesquite tree in my neighborhood in 1996, the first of our annual rain and native food forest plantings. Velvet mesquite trees, they grow to produce these edible carob-like seed pods. And they tend to be sweet, although there's a very wide spectrum of flavors, as each tree has its own unique flavor. And they're rich in carbohydrates, the pod, and the seed is rich in protein. Makes for a very good whole food. I had heard that David and Pearl had this annual mesquite milling and mesquite pancake event. You know, one of the things brought people together was not just the delicious mesquite pancakes and waffles, but also there's a little bit of danger. You can see there's, in that red thing, that's an old hammer mill that David found in an old barn in Cascabel that hadn't been used in decades. So he refurbished it, but it didn't have a power source. So he and Pearl strategized, and then they found this old mobile home axle. That's the red cylinder that you see under the Suzuki 4x4. So they set that thing up where it was good and firm, but could spin, and then they got a belt that they connected to the mobile home axle and then connected to the wheel on the hammer mill. They backed the Suzuki 4x4 onto it. They'd turn the engine on, get that thing revved up, get it into second gear, and then they'd have enough RPM with those rear wheels spinning that mobile home axle, then spinning the wheel of the hammer mill, that they could grind up the mesquite pods. And then David, he is covered in mesquite flour dust because he would feed the mesquite pods into the hammer mill. And some of that mesquite flour got up and covered him as well. But most of it was captured, and you can see Pearl, she along with other volunteers would be making mesquite pancakes and mesquite waffles that they then serve with prickly pear syrup. And then I got super excited. I'm like, man, this food is so good. And this is so quick and easy to turn these pods into a flour that we can use. So I got so excited that I got a grant together to then buy a more modern, smaller hammer mill that we could put on a trailer, set up in the first annual event, mesquite milling with mesquite pancakes. As they did in Cascabel, we had volunteers cooking up the mesquite pancakes on camp stoves, and then we'd serve it with prickly pear syrup, and you see the kid get super excited, man, because this stuff would be good. It was great how David and Pearl helped us get things set up that first year. So here's David in the center of the image, along with folks that are lined up with their buckets full of mesquite pods that they'd harvested, getting ready to run those through the mill. I loved that, David and Pearl and others in Cascabel had created this really inspirational event in their community that really celebrated what was unique to that community. Abundant native wild foods that were unique to Cascabel and the Sonoran Desert. So rather than us having to reinvent the wheel, David and Pearl were really great in sharing, how they set all that up. And they helped us. So we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. In fact, we could just leapfrog along. And here you can see a friend of mine, Garth, chowing down on the mesquite pancake with prickly pear syrup. And people got really into this. A lot of them had tried mesquite food before. And to have it in the form of a pancake, something that they were familiar with, was a really easy entry point. It was like a gateway food to other wild foods. And we would have people lined up around the block to get to these pancakes. We had people flying in from Mexico and Canada to partake of this. They were really jazzed by the fact that there was this hyper-local food event where people were harvesting the mesquite pods in their neighborhood and then grinding them up in their neighborhood and then having this celebration in their neighborhood. And here's my sister-in-law, Chi, harvesting and eating the mesquite pods grown from that tree next to her. That is the same tree that I showed you just a little bit earlier that the Girl Scouts planted 10 years prior to this photo being taken. And you see that blue arrow is showing how we divert street runoff from the street gutter into the street side basin in which the mesquite tree is growing, so that the street runoff would be the free irrigation source for the street side trees that would then grow to shade and cool the street and feed those living alongside the street. Here is a bowl full of mesquite pods from both the velvet mesquite tree and the native screw bean mesquite tree, along with a jar of the flour that we'd ground from those pods and the honey that the bees produced for us visiting the blooms of those trees. There is such abundance around us if we can just recognize, and learn to see it, and then learn how can we collaborate with that abundance in a way that enhances life for everyone, all life forms, builds community at the same time. Are you into this stuff? Well, if so, make sure you like, subscribe, and hype this channel. And also check out the other parts of this 4-part series on David and Pearl and all the awesome, inspiring stuff they're doing. And what's more, check out the full color editions of my books, Rainwater Harvesting for Dry Lands and Beyond, in English and Spanish, which you can get at deep discount direct from me at my website, harvestingrainwater.com, along with a lot of other great free resources. And if you're into neighborhood rain irrigated native food forestry, be sure to check out neighborhoodforesters.org. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and check out the show notes. A lot more awesome resources there.